Well, so today we see that the in major indexes have pulled back a little bit from their previous day's high, so there's a little bit of a pullback. Of course, the context for the last several weeks is every single dip has been bought. However, what I see here with the ES is there's an opportunity. We can see that the pre-market high was right up around this level here. There's obviously sellers up there, which has prompted this to retrace by 40 handles or so. And those sellers evidently are still there because we came back up here, had a nice wick pulling back from about the same level, and then another red candle. And so the opportunity really would have been to get in right below this candle. However, I wasn't paying attention, so I missed that. And I ended up getting into this trade, but I got in a bit late. So I actually got in at 74.32, which would have been right about here. Right about here. So, and I didn't get in with, I got in with two contracts instead of three. And the reason I got in with two contracts was that the amount of risk I'd have to take would have been, like, say, 15 is right here. So it was like 26 handles if I wanted to give three extra buffer at the end there. So 26 handles of risk on times three contracts, which is what I should be trading in month 3 of the $1 million experiment, was a bit too much. So I got in with two contracts. However, when you play this forward, we'll see that
Order filled.
okay, so I'm in with two. I ended up talking myself out of this trade, which is a bit stupid. Unfortunately, part of the reason I was successful in talking myself out of it was that I was in late, and so I'd given up 11 points of room by being late, and so I was already a little bit nervous here, and I ended up talking myself out of it, and I just closed the trade at minus 12 times two contracts, which is a bit stupid. But I was also comparing that against the possibility of losing 26 points times two contracts. And so I thought, okay, well, I've contained the risk at half because at some point, especially if you look back up here at the NQ, at some point it started to look like it was going to be a long, not a short. And so I talked myself out of it. But here's the problem. And I've come to realize this with my trading, is that the single best thing I can do when I put on a trade is make sure the stop is in the right spot, which, by the way, it isn't here. It would have been up here at 58. Put the stop in the right place, put the targets in a good place, and then leave the room. That's really what I should do, is just leave. Because nothing I'm going to do once the trade is on is going to make it any better. Usually, I just get in my own way and mess it up. And this was a prime example of that. So I ended up talking myself out of it, got out of the trade at minus 12. I got in later at almost the same level. I got in at 74.30 with only one contract because it was down here and I was feeling a bit even more nervous. Frankly, got in with one contract and it worked, but it only offset half of the loss. Anyway, I'm going to show what would have happened if I had stayed in the trade from the very beginning and not messed around with it. So let's just assume that I had done what I just said, put the stops in a good spot, put the targets in a good spot, and walked out of the room and just stopped messing with it. Let's have a look and see what would have happened. And bear in mind, I come to break even. I pull the stop to break even once it's moved 15 points in the right direction. So let's just see. And I've turned off the trailing, the 15 point trailing, because that just gets in the way. And I've been stopped out a few times. So I'm just leaving that alone. It would have pulled the stop to break even. The first target is at 30 points. Let's see if that hits. I don't know if it does or not. It might end up with break even, it might end up with break even and nothing to show for it. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I know that my net score today was minus $60. So, even break even with nothing would have been a $60 improvement. However, let's just see. Certainly does seem like it wants to bounce back, doesn't it? But I think it just ends up getting itself into this consolidation stage. And the question then is what happens next? Is it a bounce back up or is it a sell off? And it really looks like a mess, frankly. This was not a high probability trading day regardless. These setups today were not high probability. I probably would have been better off just simply not trading. Well, not probably. Clearly, would have been better off not trading, considering I ended up the day with a loss. Let's see. Does it trigger? It does trigger. So that first contract was at 30 handles. So that would have been $150. And let's see if the second one triggered. There you go. So 70 handles were were available for the asking if I had just simply left the room after I put the damn trade on. Such is life, man. That's the way it is. I've got to really temper my tendency to tinker with these things. It's just not helpful.